Hello, I'm going to look at my new map. New in the sense it's old, I've been doing this for ages. I've done a few videos where I've shown sneak peeks, but anyway, this is Macedonia, not the country, a shadow of the country on the wall of a cave, let's say. It's a wide open snipery map based on an old infiltration map, which was very much smaller and didn't have so much going on. And to be honest, I now appreciate the wisdom of that approach. Anyway, so this is a top-down view, and there is the central objective, which is not central. This is upside-down world, what can I say? There aren't any formal objectives as such, but a possible game mode might be to attack that building in some way. And so I've designed the map with that in mind, thinking there'll be starting points, spawn points around the edge, kinda. And what I'm hoping for is a map where the attackers can spawn in lots of places and the defenders won't know where to look, and there's an awful lot of countryside to cover. So it should allow some potential for, first of all, sniping, which I've got to say I'm not a big fan of, because it does tend to shut down games when you've got an uber sniper and everyone just gets shot for no reason wandering around. But the snipers want a map. This could be the map for them. Unofficially, of course, I'm not an official dev. And then to have a sort of stealthy approach within the bounds of what Ground Branch can do, which is the game that I'm doing these maps for. And I'm trying to make it, an interesting map with some variety and things. And what I'm tending to end up with, not by design, but just how it's worked out, is little sort of blocks of different kinds of map. I can't quite articulate what the different blocks are, but this is a sort of semi-forested, undeveloped bit. This is a village area. That's a foresty area. As such, it's not really that foresty. It needs a few more trees to give it that impression. There's a high, bare bit. That's a very sort of bare slope to advance down. And I've tried to balance it out, that this bit, for example, is much nearer the central objective, but it's mostly open, and the approach routes are very defined and small in number. So that is relatively more defensible should the defenders wish to defend it, in theory. And with the long engagement ranges, you should get less bullshit sort of results, like if the defenders stick their head up to defend, they get shot straight away. That shouldn't happen so much with these longer distances. So that's a quicker approach, but it is a less covered approach. And so the attackers get a choice of how they want to play this. I'm thinking there I'll make a little apple tree orchard. I don't know if that's a thing in Macedonia, but speed trees sell an apple tree, and I need to find more ideas for covering this stuff. Anyway, I digress. So let's go into the map itself, and as you see, I have 598 unbuilt objects. That's par for the course. I'm just going to turn the LODs on. Oh, they are on. No, they're not on. Okay, so now the LODs are working, so it should go a bit faster. You need to have just a little tip. If you're doing a top-down map view, for example, to generate a map for your game, you want to turn the LODs to fixed at 0. The main LOD being that of the landscape, which gets flattened out at lower LODs. And I don't know what distance this is normally viewed at, but it seems to be viewed at it's an orthogonal projection, so distance you view it at is not really a thing, but the LODs seem to kick in, so it must be viewed from theoretically some distance away. So anyway, forget what I'm saying. Key point is set LODs to fixed at 0 if you're doing a top-down shot with landscape. Let's put it back to auto. So there you can see the landscape is squidged out, the actual road mesh. The way that Unreal does roads on landscape is dumb anyway, but that's a consequence of their rendering type, I understand. Anyway, back to perspective. So this is one of the first spawns I really did, but let's go for a little ground level wander. And you see here that a lot of the foliage culls out. There's quite a hard cull of some of this foliage. The daisy-like flowers get culled, the grasses get culled, so when you go for a distance it gets rather bleak. I just can't do a landscape this size and keep much detail like that, but I will be tweaking that and optimizing in due course. So this is the more sheltered way down from that spawn. So the central objective is over there. That building there is it. So if you want to go route 1, fine, you're completely exposed. So this is another route. And The other thing I want this map to do is to be very usable for dynamic take and secure, which is a game type with all called things differently, but the same basic idea. You have random spawns attacking random objectives, so I want any bit of the map to be approachable sensibly from any other bit of the map. So I want there to be good cover and interesting terrain going from side to side as well as in and out. There's the central objective again. And here's a little road down. Now this white cube is going to be a barn of some sort. That's my hope. I haven't finished these houses, they're just placeholders for the most part. I've worked on a few different styles of fence and wall. I've done a thing, maybe I'll take a little detour to show you a thing. This is my Do Everything spline mesh package. I added a new thing to it, which is to do a random material placement. Now, because this thing uses lots of different meshes, and the different meshes may have materials in different slots, rather than doing the more common way, which is to say slot this, become material that, I'm saying look for this material and replace it with another material. So let me just find the material. Material found, so that's the material I want to replace. God, this is a bit of a pain. Doink, and then let's replace it with this one. And it's a subtle change, but there you go. So that affects all the pieces, should affect all the pieces, including the end pieces there. If I turn that off, I'm going to keep that, I like that. So that helps to bring a bit of variety in. Let's go back to our main view. So there's a couple of different kinds of wall meshes. This is a more sort of rustic one. The texturing is not perfect. These haystacks I'd like to replace at some point with proper ones. Those are Romanian style haystacks, but I want Macedonian style haystacks, and never let it be said I don't pay attention to detail. I mean, I don't, but I get anal about some things. Right, and this is moving over to one of the first bits I did on the map. Yeah, so when you're up close to the foliage, it's all right, but it does look a bit barren. I might need to redo the landscape materials to add a bit more detail. And this is an edge of the map, just a little hidey hole. So from here you get a view across quite a lot of the map. And you can see the billboarding of the trees. It's a shame, but again, to get that detail on such a large map, I need to do billboards. A little vegetable patch, which I'm trying to hide away from sight for the most part to solve some problems with inefficient meshes. Those are from Turbo Squid, which I don't usually go to, but if I can't find something on the marketplace or in speed trees, I'll go there. That's going to be a kind of shed, and this is just a map boundary. And I did just delete a lot of foliage here, so this will be better. So again, once you're up close to it, it looks slightly better. The shadowing is nice in the sense that it moves, but it pops out fairly close. Although actually that didn't really pop out as I thought it would do. This house is one of the more finished. Just to give you an idea of what this is going to be like, there's a little bit in here. Right, I do want that to go. Yeah, I've turned off the auto exposure, which for the most part is annoying. So that's a little storage area. And then we go out. Oh yeah, the auto exposure I turn off for doing the top-down shots again. So LODs to 0 and auto exposure off. -1 is just what I use for this particular map. Go away. And so this is a house. Now there are some glitches with the lighting which I've discovered stupidly is when I've got a blueprint which has both a static mesh and a light, it glitches up the light map to buggery. If you bring in the light and the mesh separately, you don't get these glitches. I've filed something and everyone's completely ignored it, so God knows what it is. Thank you, Epic, for being so epically fucking annoying at actually dealing with, you know, big bugs that aren't Fortnite related. Now, aside from these glitches, the lighting is fairly nice, only because, let me turn on the game objects, I have put rectangular lights in all the windows facing in otherwise it's far too dark, even with all the light bouncing around on a high quality light build. So to bring the inside vaguely towards the same exposure as the outside, just a bit lower, I had to put all these window lights in. Otherwise the difference in exposure is just too great and you get absolutely blinded going in or out of a building. So I guess that's how it is, but it probably slows down the light build and makes it all horrible, and I understand it doesn't work with shadowing characters, but I can live with that. But you know, again, apart from the horrible errors, the actual lighting is kind of nice for this stuff. So that's how the building's going to be, maybe with a bit more stuff in them, but that'll do for now, just till I get things working. Let's turn the game objects off. Alright, so let's move on around the map. A big tobacco field, that is tobacco, speed tree tobacco, so it's a bit wonky. They are the market leaders in slightly wonky foliage. And this is the sort of semi-forested area I mentioned at the beginning. And that's about as far as I've gone there with making stuff. This is a more recent thing. This is a work in progress very much, this area. Let's go down this road, which is kind of a back road, and along this high street. If you choose to go along here, that's at your own risk. All the terrain's fairly climbable. This is the thing I did a video on. The not perfect, but that'll do for now. Little stream. And let's go across here. This is a little shop based on something I found in Macedonia or Yugoslavia, a kind of post office-y thing. I didn't make an exact copy, but I think it's some quite interesting architecture. This is tobacco drying. Slightly wonky also, that material. I spent a bit of time on that with Fresnels and this and that and opacities and all good fun. And going up here, this is that more foresty area I talked about, which is still not all that foresty. But that poses an interesting challenge for defenders. Moving up here, we've got this little ruin, which is really an outpost of the defence, I'd say. That area is not finished. And that is the essential objective. Let's just pop into there. So here I've done all those window lights again. Because there's no or few actual lights, the lighting works better because of the bug I mentioned. That's not here because I haven't got any lights placed. So this is more or less how it should look, and I think the effect is quite nice with all that diffuse lights, but that is again from copious use of these window lights, which are probably terrible for efficiency and FPS and whatever. Little bit here. So that is looking out over pretty much the whole map, and yeah, hopefully the FPS will be preserved with lots of LODs and other tricks and culling at distance of the foliage. Another room that I've done the window light trick on, and we go into the back garden, so that is another way into the objective. So there's a few ways in, but hopefully fairly defensible. That should be fun, and the doors can be locked and breached and so on, so there'll be a bit more of a tactical element. Another little vantage point. Let's go down into the village. These houses I have not done so much, but they're just mostly sort of little placeholders. But this should be a nice close quarters area for the most part, where you can go around among the houses and have some surprises. That's going to be a nice big house. And here's one I've slightly done some work. No, not that one. I'm getting lost. So this one I think has the window lights in, just to give a subtle lift to the lighting in each room in a natural sort of way. And then going up here, there's a little lane which is overlooked by the main objective. I'm going to be doing a bit more work on this, but to be fair, probably not a lot more. So things are a little bit barren. If I finish the map and find the spare performance, I will put in more stuff, or I'll make the foliage a cull at a longer distance. So it's good enough for now. I mean, the main constraint I have, is that anything that can be used for cover cannot be culled. So these little bushes never get cold. So you can see them over there. They might thin out a tiny bit, but I have to keep them, so that puts a bit of a constraint on everything. The rocks obviously stay. So the big stuff will always stay and always be dense and not seeable through. That's definitely a word. And but everything else has to get cold to make up for that. And you get these horrible billboards, which eventually turn into not billboards at some distance. There we go. But that's what I've got to live with. Now, I was working on something else, which was like a large-scale billboard. So defining a planar sheet that turns into a billboard of the whole area behind it. So, for example, if the sheet was there, and if it was working properly, which it's not, you would see that forest, but in the original form, not the billboarded form. And I can't figure out how to make that happen for you now. And that kind of worked, but didn't quite work. So if I can get that working, that will improve the visual quality a lot. But that's a big if. So that's basically Macedonia in progress, and just slowly nibbling away at all of it. And here, there's that route there or that route there. So hopefully defensible, but the defenders may be tempted to defend other routes that are more likely. So I don't know how it's going to play out. It'd be nice to play it a bit, but obviously I've got to finish it first. So there we go. That is my demo of Macedonia in progress. Hope you like it.